Welcome to The Light Within, where we explore how to access the wisdom and intelligence within us to increase our health and vitality from the inside out. So today, my guest is Amanda Marie. And Amanda is a Karuna Holy Fire Reiki Master Teacher and Sovereign Empowerment Guide that has committed her journey to the study of healing arts, metaphysics, and spirituality. Amanda's personal journey of addiction, trauma, abuse, and being turned away from mainstream health practices prompted her path of well-being. Over time, this path organically merged into sharing these gifts with others. Amanda now works with those who desire to drastically shift their experience and step into the highest versions of themselves on all levels. While Amanda specializes in practicing and teaching Reiki, she draws from her learnings and experiences to create a completely tailored and unique experience for everyone she works with. Amanda's offerings include individual treatments, group sessions, Reiki certification on all levels, meditation and spiritual empowerment classes, and divine guidance. Finally, Amanda offers uniquely tailored corporate offerings for leading edge employers, which is super cool. So thank you, Amanda, for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have a little chat with you today.
Yeah, well, we met, I think, well, I don't know how many years ago it is now, several years ago, just quite by chance. Our daughters were taking the same class, after school class. And ever since then, I've just definitely felt your vibration as being like one of just sending so much love and power and truth to the world. So I'm excited to have you here.
Yes, yes. You know, it's so funny. I was just telling that story the other day, yesterday, to someone about how I had met you at that after school program thing the kids were doing, and I saw you, and I was just instantly just drawn to your light. And then I had this message that I from spirit that I needed to give you. I think it was like pink flowers. And I was like, no, that is weird. Like, you can't do that. And of course, if anyone, works with spirit, those messages come in so strongly. And so I just did it. And the way you received it, I'll never forget. And you said to me, thank you for the reminder to always listen to your intuition, no matter how uncomfortable it is. So thank you for that.
I'm so happy you did that. It's so special.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh yeah, the love that symbolized, just love, that
Absolutely.
pink flowers. Yeah.
Mm.
So yes, Amanda, you're working with Reiki. You're a sovereign empowerment guide.
Mm-hmm.
I would love you to tell us a little bit more about each of those in turn, and yeah, how we can access that light within to improve our life experience.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the Reiki, and I always like to say, sometimes people don't know how to pronounce it, and they're like, "Oh, you do that Reiki or that Reiki," And so the analogy or what I will share with them is think of a ray of sun and the key to opening your heart. So ray, key. And when I heard that really embodied how I felt about Reiki, because it was just like this beautiful ray of sun, this ray of light, and it just opened me up in so many ways. So maybe we'll start actually with how I got into Reiki.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, from a young girl, I always had certain gifts that, I could see spirit, and I knew about my past lives, and my parents were very young, so they didn't know how to foster those gifts and how to help me embody them. So they were just constantly pushed down, pushed down. And then I also had a few near-death experiences when I was very little, so 2 and then 3 years old.
Wow.
Hmm. And so I don't really remember the physical aspect of it, but it definitely played a role later on when I was looking back and doing some of that inner child work. But
Mm.
regardless, as I went on, I was very kind of, I always say, blessed to experience a lot of different experiences as far as different traumas and abuses. And so by the time I was in my teens, I was deep into addiction and really just living a very high risk lifestyle. And deeply, deeply hurting. And
Mm.
so everyone around me always kept asking me, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?"
Mm.
Uh, and, I didn't know how to answer that. I couldn't figure it out. So I managed to make it through high school. And by the time I was 18, I went into, I've always had a passion for hair and actually still do hair, but I focus more on the spiritual aspect of our hair. So I went into hair school, and then at 18, 19, I kind of had everything they said you should have. And I was again deep in the addiction, very, very unhappy. And one day I looked around and I said, "Someone, anyone, show me the way. Otherwise, I'm ready to exit out of this life." And I was very serious about that. And the next day, Spirit answered in the form of a friend. She called me and she said, "Have you heard of Reiki? There's a class coming up and I'd love to take it. Will you take it with me?" And from that one class, it was just a remembrance of myself, of who I was at the soul level. And I
Mhm.
dove deep into the study of Reiki, of metaphysics, of spirituality, of all healing modalities. So that's how I got started.
Wow. Yeah. I can really resonate with well, first of all, I like how you pointed out that, you were blessed to have those experiences of the trauma and abuse, because at the time when we're experiencing it, it does not feel like a blessing. But I know I used kind of a similar tactic. I said, there's got to be a silver lining. I was waiting for that silver lining. Come on, and it
Definitely.
has come, but it
Yeah.
took some time.
Yes.
And also that feeling of just hurting, but not necessarily even knowing why or knowing what. It's just there's something that is hurting, and I think, well, I'm guessing that the majority of us can all resonate with that, to a certain degree, anyways. And so I just wanted to kind of uh, just put that out there.
Shed some light on that. Yeah,
Because I think
absolutely.
that's really important in the healing journey, because we're all on a healing journey of some kind in this life. So I think it's important also how we perceive these things makes a big difference in how we're going to move on from it.
Absolutely. We all have an opportunity to become empowered by our experiences or to remain in that sort of victim mentality. And I've done both, so I understand both quite well. But being in that empowered sort of vibration feels so much better. It's such
No
a
kidding,
such a beautiful
definitely.
place to be. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you had
So
that first experience, and that really just changed, and you got to know more deeply about your true nature.
absolutely, absolutely. And so on my journey with Reiki, it was never meant to, it was all about my personal journey. Like I never had an intention to share it with others, but when people started seeing how my life shifted so drastically, and it was just an energy that I started emitting. I was peaceful, I was happy, I was joyous. The way I showed up in the world was very beautiful and childlike, with that
Mm-hmm.
childlike wonder. And so out of all the different modalities that I've been intrigued with and learned over the years, the reason why I fell in love with Reiki is because, to me, Reiki is the epitome of inclusivity. So we all have the ability, we are energy, and that's what Reiki is. Reiki is life force energy that is spiritually guided. So, what is life force energy? That's everything. That's you, me, the sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, the food, the apples, the
Yeah,
vegetables.
everything. Yeah.
Everything that has a consciousness is life force energy. And so with Reiki, what's happening is that life force energy is coming in through the practitioner. It comes in through the top of your head, which some people would call the crown chakra. Then it comes out through the eyes, the hands, the breath, and the feet. And so with Reiki, you cannot push energy into someone else. That client or the other person who's on the receiving end, they have to give full authority, they have to give their permission. So for example, in a Reiki session, the client is typically lying on a massage table. They're fully clothed, they're under some blankets, all nice and comfy. And so they're lying there, and their higher self comes in and says, wow, there's a surplus of pure positive energy here. Let me take that in. And
Mm.
so you can take in as much of that energy as you want. If anyone out there is, and this is my belief, and as always, people should take what resonates for them and leave the rest. But
Yep.
if anyone out there is telling you that they are going to heal you, that's where I run far, far away.
Yes. Yes.
I never like the word healers. Sometimes it's just in our human language, the only verbiage that we have to use, right? But I
Yeah.
personally believe that we are each our own healers, and our higher self will reach out to those other catalysts that we need to create rapid transformation.
Wow. I love
Mhm.
that description of Reiki. That's so beautiful, and it paints such a clear picture of just that channeling of the energy through the practitioner and being received as it is required by the person who's on the receiving end. So how
Absolutely.
does the Reiki that you do differ from other types of Reiki?
Absolutely. So, uh, I've been saying this for a long time, and I mean no offense when I say this, but Reiki has actually lost its validity over the years. And the
Mm,
reason why is because it gained some mainstream momentum, which is super beautiful. But with anything, then there comes in all types of people, all types of practitioners, all types of frequencies within that. So
mhm,
Reiki is such a broad term. There are hundreds of types of Reiki out there. Um, and so I've taken a bunch of different types of Reiki, and the one that I resonated with the most for myself is Holy Fire 3 and Karuna Reiki. So there's Yasui Reiki, which is and Tibetan, and those are the most kind of mainstream ones. And how I describe the difference between other Reiki and Holy Fire 3 or Karuna Reiki is that with Holy Fire, you get all of the original teachings with the new earth energies and frequencies. It's
mm,
my personal belief that we were always meant to evolve as human beings, different energies that we have, and we keep going and going and going. And the more of us that evolve in consciousness and ascend, that higher levels of energy that we have access to.
Right.
So for me, some other types of Reikis that just wanted to do it in one way, and it was really, really structured. That's not wrong, but it just didn't work for me. So
Right.
that's why I gravitated to the Holy Fire. And that's how I would describe it, is Reiki that you get all the original teachings, but the new earth energies and frequencies as well.
Wow. Well, it's interesting because even for myself and my practice, like people ask, what do I do? And it's like, well, what do I do? I call it DNA activation, but DNA activation doesn't really kind of encompass what it is that I'm doing. But what I found, like you mentioned about new energies coming in, is that what I'm doing during a treatment is continually evolving, like even in the last year, like let alone in like from the last 5 years, but in the last year alone, I find like my treatments are just again that intuitive, following that intuitive guidance, even if it seems like I've never done this before. It seems like there's a guidance to do some other just other processes to bring in the healing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's very interesting, that like that's kind of what you're mentioning in this holy fire and Karuna Reiki.
Absolutely. It just keeps gaining in momentum, keeps gaining in consciousness. And for me, that always just resonated so deeply because we're meant to keep evolving.
That's right, and especially right now, it's like it's the rate of the evolving is very fast at this point.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
really fast, uncomfortably fast.
Uncomfortably fast. Yes, yes. And sometimes, some days we just need to tap out and we need to just immerse ourselves in nature, and that's okay. Like, that is okay.
I know, yeah, the silence, the need for silence right now, I think is very strong. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but how would you guide anybody looking for a Reiki teacher? How would any suggestions about how to pick a Reiki practitioner, I guess?
Definitely. So, you had mentioned something earlier about a Reiki experience you had, and I've had so many clients um, who have come to me and they've actually had a really negative experience with their Reiki practitioner. And so it hurts my heart and it's so sad. But unfortunately, that's what's happening out there. I call it spiritual abuse, where people come in and they will share unnecessary information, or, there's been all sorts of things that we have seen. So I encourage people to kind of do your homework, maybe talk to somebody. The majority of my clients are all based on referral. So it's like this client has had an experience with me, and then they share with one of their family members or their friends. And so if you do your research and ask to talk to the practitioner or the teacher that you are interested in. It is, for me, I always, before I see any clients, we have a Zoom meeting or we have a phone conversation, not just via text or message. I want to feel their energy and I want them to feel mine. And if I'm not the one who's meant to work with them, then I can guide them to some other people, right?
Right.
So it's really about using your discernment. It's really about, for anything that you're doing, whether it's a new book, you're going for a treatment, you are looking for some information. One of the tools that I always use is I connect to Creator and I ask that Creator guide me to the highest book, the highest practitioner, the highest piece of information for my highest good at this time. And when you're coming at it from that perspective, then it's amazing that you are always guided to the right information for you. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's a practice, like you said, you can do that for pretty much anything, even like if I'm going on a road trip or something, it's just like just bringing in that white light and just asking to be guided, along the way, because there's so many different energies that we could possibly come in contact with, but when we kind of send out what our intention is, we want that for the highest good. uh, but I mean, even like you said, some of those negative treatments can be a learning experience that might be necessary. But if we can
Yes.
avoid them, that would be also great.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I definitely come from that same perspective that everything does happen for a reason. And sometimes that is, we don't want to hear that. But and looking in my own life, I'm very grateful for all of the experiences that I've had because they've taught me lessons. And I always say to people, it is those of us who have experienced the deepest pain and the deepest hurt that have the ability to experience the polarity of that. So we couldn't truly understand what it is like to be blissful if we hadn't experienced the polarity of that. And sometimes that helps to give us a little bit of comfort when we're walking through those more challenging times because they're not
Mm-hmm.
easy.
No, no, no.
No.
Yeah, no, I think that's very important to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Amanda, can you now tell us a little bit about this, that you mentioned your sovereign empowerment guide? What does that mean and how does that work?
Mm-hmm. So it's something that just came to me. Like I've always from a young age I knew that my sovereignty was important to me. My spiritual sovereignty, my medical sovereignty, the sovereignty, my physical sovereignty of who I am. So what that means is just to walk from your own perspective, that nobody governs how you behave. And so, as a sovereign empowerment guide, I'll use this as an example. So, sometimes I'll get a phone call or a message, and bless their hearts, they're joking around when they say this, but they say, potential clients will say, can you just fix me? I just need you to fix me. And we giggle about it. And I say, well, actually, I'm not the practitioner for you then. But if you're looking to take accountability, take a hold of your life, become the powerful creator of your experience, then I would be more than happy to walk beside you on this journey. And that's how I look at what I do. I'm here to empower others so that essentially you take the information that we've shared, because it's a collective gathering of information, and you take that to create the life of your dreams, to express who you are at the soul level, to live a life of abundance in all regard. A lot of people just think abundance is about the money aspect of things, and that's a part of it. And money is a beautiful energy, but it's abundance of wisdom, time, peace, love, abundance of compassion, all of the things. So as a sovereign empowerment guide, it is my role, my honor to help my clients get to that place where they completely love themselves and then trust themselves. One of the biggest struggles with humanity currently, and has been for a long time, is that the majority of humanity is in a state of self-distrust. And it's
Mm.
not even our faults. Nobody taught us how to trust ourselves. We always looked to our parents, our teachers, our priests, whoever it was, for the answers. We were never given an opportunity to stand in our truth and to learn how to trust our inner guidance. So that's what that is in a nutshell.
Wow, that, yeah, and there's so much beauty in that, because uh, I feel like people, like you said, it's nobody's fault. We haven't been trained to take responsibility, and I feel like sometimes when we're at the beginning of our path, it can feel like, oh, so if I'm kind of creating my life, if I have the responsibility of what I'm experiencing, there can be a lot of judgment and a lot of shame and guilt and all these like they're unnecessary feelings, because it's like, but we kind of have to work through that. We kind of be like, no, uh even though I'm a co-creator with everything else creating this life, um taking responsibility for myself doesn't mean that it's a blame game, and that there's kind of judgment and what I want to say, kind of just like these expectations. It's like we're here on earth, it's a learning. I like to keep
Absolutely.
that thing in my brain that, you do as best, I think it's Maya Angelou says it, you do as best as you can until you know better, right? When you know better, then you do better. But you can't go back and
Absolutely.
say, oh, well, I should have done this differently and I should have done this. And I think it kind of stops people because it's too scary. But the fact of the matter is it's actually way better to be it's way funner and exciting to say, hey, like if like you said about the trust, if I do trust myself, I trust my guidance, I trust that gut feeling about what's right or what's not right for me. There's such a freedom in there that you can't feel otherwise.
Absolutely. And there's nothing better than that freedom that you're talking about. It's about that spiritual freedom, that emotional freedom, and nobody can ever take that away from you. When you get to that place that you trust who you are as a sovereign being, you trust your inner guidance, and you're not connected to the outcome of it, right? Then
Yes,
you
that's the important
create,
part.
it is. Then you create the most beautiful experience for yourself. Just so peaceful, it's so connected, and it's just a way. That's in my personal belief. People will ask, well, why are we here? And some people say, oh, we're here to learn lessons and we're here to do this, we're here to do that. I believe that we are here to express who we are at the soul level from our individuated point of view, fully, in totality. And when you think that, it takes all the pressure off. What? You mean I'm just here to express who I am? That's it. And yes, that can be challenging a little bit sometimes to figure that out. We have to work towards that. But at the same time, what a beautiful thing to know that the universe, the only thing the universe desires from you is
Mm,
just to be and express who you are at the soul level,
mhm.
unapologetically. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, wow. And yeah, just opens up the perspective.
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, I've got one more question for you, Amanda, and that
Mhm.
is, what is a little bit of advice or a little tip or a tool you can share with those watching, that they can use, maybe even today, um, that can help empower that light within?
Absolutely. So, one of the tools, or the tool that I'm going to share with you guys today, is something, it's a Reiki practice, and it's called Gasho. And Gasho literally means two hands coming together. So, you bring your hands up, you place your palms together, thumbs at the heart center, and
Get my
ooh,
microphone, okay?
yes. And oh, yes, I guess mine as well. And so Usi Sensei, who is the man who is most well known for sharing Reiki with the world, that's how you pronounce his name in Japanese. The English way is Mikao Yasui. So he was known to sit in Gasho morning and
Mhm.
evening, and it is a powerful form of meditation all on its own. It doesn't get much easier than this. So you
Mm.
bring your hands together, close your eyes, take a deep inhale, call back all fragments of your soul into this here and now moment, and begin to feel a beautiful flame igniting at the base of your spine. The flame is strong and powerful, but it does not burn you. And you can bring this flame up through your entire body, and the flame will gently burn away anything that no longer serves you. Taking in another deep breath. And bringing all of your awareness to the space between your palms. Anytime a thought arises, just be the observer and bring your attention back to the space between your palms. One last deep breath. And when you are ready, you can gently open your eyes and come back into this here and now moment. So that is something, bringing your hands into Gasho. It's a very quick, tangible way that essentially you can restore the light within and connect to the highest essence of your soul. And there's no time frame. It can be done for 30 seconds. If you're at work and you're taking a quick washroom break, just to recenter, reground yourself, or you could sit for up to 30 minutes if you want a more dedicated practice with that.
Yes, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
So how can people find you, Amanda, if they feel drawn to you? How can they find you?
Absolutely. So for years, people have been telling me that I should have a website. And you know what? It doesn't bring me joy, so I don't have one. But people can definitely find me on Facebook, and they can find me on Instagram. And so that's the best way to get a hold of me. I have all of my information on my Facebook page and on the Instagram as well. So yes, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll put those links in the description. And thank you, Amanda. This has been just a blessing. Feels good. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Afua, for all that you do. It was, when you asked me to participate, it was something that I jumped on right away because I could feel your energy, feel the light behind this. So deep bows of gratitude to you always.
Yes, thank you very much. And yes, and thank you all who are watching for watching today. And I'll see you next time on The Light Within.